It's Mountain West Madness time, and the Big Mountains got the picks.
The calendar says March, so we're back on the Big Mountain to talk about college basketball and March Madness.
Hey, it's really good to have you here on the mountain. I am JY, and this is my good friend Steve. Steve, it is time to do Mountain West Madness.
Awesome.
It is out. I know you and I both watched some games on Saturday. I watched most of the New Mexico-Utah State game. Was a phenomenal game. I know you watched quite a bit of the Nevada UNLV game. Yep. Gearing up, getting ready to make our picks on Mountain West Madness. So let's get into it. The preliminary round is on Wednesday, March 13th. We've got 3 games. We got the 8 seed, the Wyoming Cowboys, versus the 9 seed, Fresno State. This is an 11 a.m. game, Pacific time. I'm going to do all Pacific time here. 11 a.m. on Pacific. This is on the Mountain West Network. So all games on Wednesday are on the Mountain West Network. An 8-9 here. I think there's a pretty significant difference between these two teams. YO being, I don't want to say on the cusp of being in the top, but definitely a much stronger team than Fresno and any of that 9, 10, 11 teams. And the bottom 3 teams here really are the weakest teams. YO had a few nice little upsets throughout the season. Mm-hmm. I am putting my money on Wyoming here to advance to the quarterfinals. What are you thinking? You like the Bulldogs or the Pokes?
In football, I kind of root for the Bulldogs here, but I'm not sure they got much of a chance. I'm going to stay with you and go with Wyoming.
Okay. All right, well, let's go to the 7-10. So, the good old Rams here, yeah. CSU, the number 7 seed, playing San Jose State, another team that just struggled. Not a lot to talk about here. I'm going to save some of our comments for really the quarters and the semis. So, I got CSU advancing here fairly easily, getting into the quarters.
I agree. CSU advance here. I think they're going to run into trouble later, but yeah. I like them to get through this preliminary round.
And the one that shouldn't be close, New Mexico versus Air Force, although New Mexico did have that massive slip-up just a few weeks ago against Air Force, so they will get their revenge in this game. No doubt about it. They're going to win this game. They will advance. But, I'm sure, again, we've talked about this in the couple episodes that we've had, I don't think the Lobos thought they would be in this preliminary round to get into the quarterfinals about a month ago. Well, here they sit. They're not playing bad ball. They're just not playing good enough ball at this point to be in the top 4 or 5 in the Mountain West, at least for the tournament. They can turn it around here this week. We'll see what happens, but of course I like the Lobos to get out of this prelim round.
Yeah, I mean this is step 1 in what I think has to be a deep tournament run in the Mountain West tournament.
Well, let's get to the quarters, and I'm going to talk a little bit more about some of these teams as we get to the quarterfinals. So we'll start with Wyoming versus Utah State. Utah State winning the regular season with that win against the Lobos. Was gearing up that there may be a tie here at the top of the Mountain West, but no. Utah State gets that huge win. Was a fantastic game. Really enjoyed watching it. Utah State's 2-0 against Wyoming here this year. This is a 12 o'clock game against Pacific time. 12 o'clock game on CBS SN. Of course, I like Utah State here. YO, they'll give them a little bit of a run, but nothing here leads me to believe the Aggies are going to slip up here in this quarterfinal. They're winners of 7 of their last 8. They're coming in on a massive win streak of 4 straight. As we said, they just beat New Mexico. Things riding high with several teams in the Mountain West, one of them being the Aggies of Utah State.
Yeah, I mean, to me, I think they look like they're the best team in the Mountain West. They should get through this game pretty easily.
Yeah, so let's get to the next one then. UNLV versus San Diego State. So I mentioned how New Mexico probably a little surprised they're playing in this prelim round. San Diego State, the number 5 seed here, probably a little surprised that they have to play an up-and-coming UNLV team, and we talked about them briefly on the last episode. This is a 2:30 game. They split their against each other here this year, so they're 1-1 against each other. UNLV coming in winners of 5 of their last 6, looking really good. And then San Diego State losing their last 2 here, 1 to UNLV, 1 to Boise State in overtime. So, nothing to sneeze at there in terms of who they're losing to. But definitely UNLV looking a lot better here towards the end of the season. I know we were talking just before we came on about UNLV, and I mentioned they have these 3 quad 4 losses, and just is going to be a really big struggle for them to, unless they have a crazy good tournament here, really going to be a struggle for them to get anywhere in terms of the NCAA tournament. I don't think it's going to happen. But, you were mentioning about one of their players, I think, that was out there for a little while. So
yeah, San Diego State, I mean, they get a lot of national credit for those 2 out-of-conference wins.
Yep.
I was at Gonzaga and St. Mary's, right?
I believe so, yeah.
Yeah. But they've been kind of up and down in the conference. UNLV, they look like a dangerous team. I was watching last night. I think the whole first half of UNLV and Nevada, and you're the Mountain West guy. I'm not a Big Ten guy, but I was listening to the commentators, and they were talking about how UNLV, I forget the player's name, but he hit a couple threes last night, and they were talking about that they didn't have him early in the season when they lost those bad games, those quad 4 losses, and since he's come back, that he's really stretched their offense and has been able to help them kind of stretch the court. And yeah, I mean, they look scrappy, they look good. I think they could be a dangerous team, and they're obviously, it'd be hard for them to make the tournament at this point. So you gotta think that maybe they have that motivation of, hey, we got to go through and win this thing, and they probably think they can do it.
Yeah, I mean, I'm taking San Diego State here. I think it could be a close game. I think UNLV does have some of the size that is needed to win in the Mountain West. But I just think San Diego State just has too much talent here. I wish the best for the Rebels here, but I'm going San Diego State. So that'll give us a Utah State, San Diego State matchup in the semis. But let's keep going with the quarters here. We got number 2 Nevada versus number 7 Colorado State. Nevada just going off at the end of the season here. Winners of 7 straight, 10 of their last 11 games. They've got it figured out in a massive way. They did win both head-to-head matchups against CSU here. One by 7 points, one by 3 points. And CSU, after they kind of went on that rough patch just a couple weeks ago, losing 3 straight, they have bounced back with a win versus Wyoming, and they got that win versus Air Force. I know you're a little concerned for them, but they got the 9-point win versus Air Force, so they got 2 wins to come into the Mountain West tournament. I just think Nevada is too good of a team here, too up and down for Colorado State for them to get the victory. I like Nevada here. Again, just the hottest team in the Mountain West right now. I don't know how anybody can pick against Nevada given what they've done over the past 10 games especially.
Yeah, I don't see any way of CSU beating Nevada unless something crazy happens. So I'm with you on Nevada, and honestly, I think we've talked about the bubble teams or whatever. I think CSU loses this game, and they could be in danger. This could be the end of their season.
Could be. You know me, though.
Yep.
I'm sticking with my 6.
Yep.
We'll get to that at the very end.
Okay.
So last one, we got Boise State, the 3 seed, versus the 6 seed, New Mexico, playing into this. I just think Boise State has too much size. They have too much size. I saw that when New Mexico played last night against Utah State. And they've got talent. They do have speed. But Boise State coming in winners of 6 of their last 7 games here. They just beat San Diego State in overtime. A really, really good test for them. Boise's 2-0 in the head-to-heads this year. Winners by 8 and 10. I know New Mexico State has a very high net ranking. Anytime you talk New Mexico. I'm sorry. Yeah. I know New Mexico has a very high net ranking, but they're only winners of 2 of their last 6. I consider them a bubble team. Yes. They are a bubble team. I'm on the bubble that they're in. I think no matter them winning or losing this quarterfinal game, I do think they're in a bubble to be in. I know you don't agree with me on that, though. So any comments on this game?
Yeah, I think I agree with you on the pick. I mean, San Diego State's just the better team. I think they're playing. Boise State, just the better team. I think they've been playing better. I agree with you on the size. And I'm just not so. I've seen a lot of people say New Mexico, their Lobos are in no matter what. Yes. I don't buy that. I think that I'm with you on the pick of the game, and I think New Mexico is going to have to go into that selection committee, go into the weekend selection show, really sweating whether they're going to make the tournament.
Yeah, well, if they lose in the corners, like we both think they're probably going to do here, I would agree. They should be sweating. I still think they get in. Anyway, let's get to the semis. On Friday, March 15th, 6:30 Pacific on, again, CBSSN. We've got the number 1 Aggies versus the number 5 Aztecs. I think this will be a really, really good game. I actually think this game, nothing against the other semi, who I really like those teams too. I really think the Utah State-San Diego State game here in the semifinals is likely going to be the winner of the entire tournament. We will see. But I really like this game. They split over the year. San Diego State won by 4 back on February 3rd. Utah State won by 5 on February 20th. I do think Utah State, just they're riding a little bit higher. They've got their game together a little bit more. And I just got to go with the Aggies. There's too much there that I see from them that I like, and too much concern I have from San Diego State. I still think it's going to be a great game. It will be. I'm sure it's going to be a close game, but I am going to take the Aggies to beat San Diego State.
Yeah, I'm with you. Everything I've seen has Utah State to me. They're not the top team in they're not the best team. If they're not the best team in the Mountain West, they're in the top 2. So I'm with you on that.
So let's get to the other one then. The 9 o'clock game Pacific, Nevada versus Boise State. I struggled with this one. Of all the picks that I'm doing here, this was the one I went back and forth. I actually had a check mark and had to cross it out. And I went back and forth, and I thought about it. Boise State won back on January 12th by 8. Nevada won by 10 on March 5th in Boise State. So that just happened. I was going to go Boise, but Nevada's just too hot. I got to ride the hot team, and they are smoking hot. So I am going to take Nevada, the Wolfpack, probably, and so I'm taking Utah State and Nevada here to be in my finals. I don't think anybody would have had these two teams as being in the Mountain West tournament final to have this. And they're the number 1 and number 2 seed here. So, nobody would have had that. I like it, but I'm going to go Nevada here. Again, another close game. I'm really excited. If these are the semis, this Friday night matchups are going to be fantastic.
Yeah, I'm with you on the pick. I'm with you on who you have in the final. The basketball I've seen over the last few weeks, definitely Nevada and Utah State look like the clear-cut top 2 teams in the Mountain West. Both teams, I think, could do really well in the tournament. So I'm not surprised. Obviously, they're top 2 seeds. They've been playing like that. So I'm with you on those picks. And the game, I think it's a great finals matchup.
Well, let's get to the championship game on the flagship network of CBS, 3 o'clock Pacific time, which will be 6 o'clock here in the East. So Saturday, March 16th, we've got what I say is going to be Utah State versus Nevada. I just did the last episode I was talking praise to Coach Sprinkle and what he has done there in Utah State. Just fantastic.
It's his first year, right?
First year coming from Montana State. And Brown, who one of the players he was able to bring with him from Montana State. Just fantastic. I mean, I was watching that game. I think they said he played all but like a minute of the game against New Mexico. And that's a high-tempo team you're playing there in New Mexico. So just fantastic.
Can I bring up an interesting stat I saw last night on the broadcast? They were talking about the Mountain West and just in general, the game I was watching. They were talking about Utah State and Coach Sprinkle. Amazing stat. Like I thought that it had to be wrong, but I found it another place on Twitter that they didn't return any scoring production, not 1 point of scoring production from last year's team to this year's team. So to basically be starting from scratch, starting from brand new, and to play as well as they have, and we have them in the Mountain West Championship game. Just an amazing, I would say, amazing coaching job by him.
Well, and people want to talk about the transfer portal when paying players. Utah State, get out your checkbook. If you want to be a contender here, pay this coach, because just a fantastic job this year. And again, Brown just fantastic. So let's get to the pick, Steve. Who am I going to take? Am I going to take the Aggies, or I'm going to take the Wolfpack? I am going to break from the hot team, and I'm going to go with Coach Sprinkle, just showing me too much right now. I'm going to say the Aggies win this by 2 points on March 16th for the Mountain West Championship.
And it'll be a great story, just like we talked about with the new coach and just building from scratch. So it'll be a great story. I have no reason to go against that. I mean, you could pick either team, put them under a hat, whatever. And but it looks like it should be a great final if those two teams are in it. And Utah State, great season, great run either way.
So I have to just say it again for those that have seen our episodes. I'm still saying we have 6 Mountain West teams in the big dance, the NCAA tournament. You've got Utah State, you've got Nevada, you got Boise State, You've got San Diego State. You've got the Rams, and I'm still saying you've got the Lobos. 6 to the dance.
So, yeah.
Are you changing from 4? Or are you staying with your 4?
So I'm gonna stick with my 4, but I have a wild card for
Okay,
you,
all right, okay.
So I'm gonna stick with my 4: Utah State, Nevada, San Diego State, Boise State.
Understand.
Guaranteed, they're locks. I don't think it matters what happens in this tournament.
Yeah.
They're locks.
Right.
I see Colorado State outside looking in. I think the Lobos have work to do. I'm not sold on them as being definitely in. If they would win the tournament, then they would definitely be in. But I'm not sold on them. But I'm going to give you a wild card here. The team we talked about earlier, I could see UNLV making that run. I think they have a lot to play for. I think they're a different team than they were early in the season. So I'm just going to make that wild card. I think there is a possibility of UNLV making a run through this and being more motivated than some of the other teams. And maybe winning the whole darn thing and getting the automatic spot, which would give them 5. So I'm going to go with that. So kind of a crazy wild card.
Well, I'll go back to the quarters and say I think that's the hardest quarterfinal game. That UNLV, San Diego State, I know that will upset some Lobo fans.
Yeah.
I just think Boise's going to take care of business against the Lobos. I think that UNLV San Diego State game could be very interesting as a quarterfinal game. So I don't disagree with what you're saying. I just don't think they're one of my 6.
Yeah, and big thing this time of year, motivation. When you have teams, if they know they're in the dance, they're looking forward to sitting down on that Sunday when they have that selection show, being on TV, seeing where they're going to be in the bracket. And I think UNLV, they might be the hungriest team in this tournament.
Good point. Hey, we'll see how it goes. As I've said, we are also going to do a full NCAA tournament pick. Steve and I are going to do that, obviously, here in about a week. We had to do the Mountain West first. We'll see how things play out, and then we'll do the whole dance tournament, do all of the picks. So, hey, we thank you tuning in to this episode. Make sure you give this one a like. Subscribe if you like our content. Again, we're everything Mountain West, everything Big Ten, and almost everything college football. We're covering basketball here at the end because it's fun, but we are a football channel. And with that, we'll see you guys next time on the Big Mountain.